Dune Awakening. It's like a hybrid of genres. It's mostly survival crafting, but in its own words, it's also an RPG and massively multiplayer. I think a survival game in the hardcore world of Dune with deadly giant sandworms, it's such an awesome combo. Uh-oh. I'm planning on completing this 100% and fully reviewing it, but it's one of those huge games that's going to take a while, so I want to share my early impressions. And so far, I think it's good. It's one of those games where your time just gets sucked into a void. I've definitely had a lot of fun, and it's great at presenting the Dune lore and universe.
Your talents are wasted on the Atreides.
But I've definitely got lots of nitpicks and little issues. On the technical side, it could definitely run a bit better. I'll post my PC specs. It generally runs at 60 frames a second, but I'm getting texture popping and weird bits, and there's occasional lag or issues with the servers. I enjoy survival crafting games like The Forest, Ark, Conan Exiles, Rust, so one set in the world of Dune caught my interest, and it's made by the same developers of Conan Exiles. The game operates on servers which are then broken into sub-servers or sietches. Just make sure you're on the same one as your friends. Character creator is decent. Best bit is that it's a whole cinematic and interactive process, with you being interviewed by the Reverend Mother.
I will sift your words for lies.
Very nerdy, cool Dune stuff. And there's some RPG bits. You'll get to decide what your background is, as well as your mentor, which decides what kind of starting class and skills you'll have access to. There's Swordmaster, Trooper, Bene Gesserit, which lets you control and manipulate people with your voice, and there's my starting class, Mentat, which is good at recon, analysing, and it has a turret, which is the real reason I picked Mentat. Each class has their own talent tree, but classes are just a starting point for your character. You can mix and match abilities to make your own custom build, because you'll eventually unlock all of these class trees on a single character, and there's even other skill trees which weren't available at the start. So far, the RPG elements get a thumbs up from me. And speaking of RPGs, consider subbing to Peter Bytes or liking the video for more content like this. Cover lots of RPGs. You might like my Final Fantasy series, where I'm replaying them all and ranking them against each other as I go. Thank you.
Now let's get to work.
We start out just struggling to survive in Dune's Hagga Basin. You very quickly learn just how deadly and dangerous the environments of Dune are. You're in danger of dying to dehydration, sandstorms, or giant sandworms. You'll start gathering materials, building tools, and eventually a base. Out of all the survival crafting games I've played, I think Dune's base building is up there. It's really good. I like that you can build your base into rocky environments. In a lot of other games, you just wouldn't be able to build into those rocks. Like a lot of other survival games, you'll need to consume resources to stay alive. This time you just need to drink water, which you can consume from plants that are generally all over the place. Early on, it's a chore keeping yourself hydrated. I'll admit it was a little frustrating, constantly needing to drink water. But as you survive and progress the game, you'll unlock lots of new methods for gathering and storing water. You can even craft still suits, which recycle and filter your body sweat and urine into a tasty drink. And that keeps you going a bit longer. Eventually I was harvesting blood and filtering it out for pure water, building dew reapers to more efficiently gather water from plants, and building wind traps to gather water from the atmosphere. It feels really satisfying progressing and looking back. It was a pain in the arse gathering water and staying hydrated, but now it's no sweat, it's literally on tap. I automatically generate water in my base, and it's used in a lot of crafting, like smelting ore into ingots. Every now and then you'll come across other players and their bases. It's kinda cool seeing other people's bases develop, progress, and grow larger. The game is primarily PvE, you can't attack other players, unless you go to a shipwreck. Those areas are designated player versus player areas. And there's also an endgame map called the Deep Desert, which is dedicated to endgame PvP. I'm quite far off playing that, but I have been to some PvP shipwrecks with friends, and we committed a bit of murder. Everyone drops their inventory on death, and we stole this one guy's hard-earned credits. feels kind of bad. I don't think the other player even realised we were in a PvP area. The shipwrecks themselves didn't have amazing items to loot. Maybe they get better later on. So environments can be quite harsh. There's lots of rocky landscapes, and you're going to want to get high up to properly survey areas. There is a whole climbing system. It's good, but it can be very janky. Sometimes animations freak out, or I don't properly clip to the rocks. That said, eventually you can find or build special belts that let you break gravity and glide. But used in combination with jumping and climbing, these belts make climbing so awesome. You can keep gravity jumping to cover huge distances. It's so cool. And one of the abilities I picked up from the Trooper tree lets me use a grappling hook, which is really useful for climbing. But it can also be used in combat to stagger enemies and pull them towards you. I've kind of neglected talking about combat. Gunplay is solid, pistols, submachine guns, shotguns. Kind of curious how good sniper rifles are going to be in things like endgame PvP and wide open desert areas. But there's also melee combat, which is quite in depth and a mix of good and bad. First off, in the Dune universe there's energy shields called Holtzman shields, and if you've got one of these up, it protects you from being shot by most weapons. But in exchange, if you're using a shield, you can't use guns either. So you get these melee enemies with shields that will run towards you, and it's quite easy to parry their attack and get them good. Sounds good, but when you're dealing with multiple types of enemies at once, it becomes significantly harder. It's hard to have a sword fight while you're getting shot at. And that's when it'll get a bit frustrating and I'll try to separate enemies around corners. Melee combat is quite good, it's quite slick dodging and parrying, but sometimes the jank kicks in and I'll lose my lock on to an enemy. A good way in, I've just made some new weapons that are designed to destroy enemy shields, so that might be a game changer. I'll have to check them out. Also, not a huge variety of enemies, but there's still time for that to change. But by far the most deadly thing on Dune is definitely the Sandworms. While you're crossing the flat, wider, more open areas of Dune, there's a real danger of being detected by one of these giant sandworms that will rise up and try to gobble you up. They're terrifying because they'll also eat your inventory and vehicles. You'll lose everything if you get eaten by one. In a way, the game is semi-hardcore. There's huge consequences to being eaten by a worm. Quite early on, my next steps were to proceed further north into the map to progress. I built a sandbank to safely cross over this more dangerous open desert area, and halfway across I managed to aggro a sandworm, and as it was gaining on me, everything went slow motion in my mind, and there was just this terrible sense of dread. I could just feel my impending doom as this thing got closer and closer. I tried to swerve out of its way, but it got me. Uh-oh. I lost everything. I lost my bike, all my equipment, and all my tools. And it took hours to earn that stuff back. It was really frustrating. And I watched my recording back, and I don't think there was much else I could have done to prevent getting eaten by that worm. I think it was just unlucky because second time round, I managed to cross over to the north with no issues at all. Frustrating, but I know what I signed up for going into Dune Awakening. Thing is, I think a situation like that might turn other people off, and I think that huge loss of progress would be enough for them to quit the game. So I'd say just be aware, the game does have hardcore elements like this.
Get tough or get dead. Sooner you learn that, the later you'll croak.
I should mention, on your very first death, you are thrown a little bone and given one replacement sandbank, which does cut down the time to get back to where you were. So my sandbank is really cool. I've upgraded it as I've progressed. It's now got boosters. Eventually I built a buggy. Really like it, and you can customize it in different ways. Like it can have 4 seats. a storage boot, or a mining laser, which has been really useful for gathering ores and bringing them back to base. Genuinely quite impressed with how vehicles play and feel so far. They're quite slick. Biggest criticism so far, there's tons and tons of different tools, but nowhere near enough hotbar slots. I'm constantly going into my equipment and swapping tools from my inventory to my hotbar slots, and it's just a bit of a chore. The tools are really cool, lore accurate, and thematic with the world, but I really need more hotbar slots. It would be perfect if I could hold Control, Alt, or left trigger, and it would swap to a secondary hotbar while those buttons are held down. That would be my most requested feature. Overall, with what I've played so far, I really like Dune Awakening, it's good. Lots of little issues and janky bits though, which often comes with the territory of large-scale survival crafting games. I had a little go on the Steam Deck. I'm surprised it worked. I thought the BattlEye anti-cheat wouldn't be compatible, but the whole thing's running pretty good. If you enjoy other survival crafting games like Ark, or if you're a huge Dune fan, I'd recommend Awakening so far. I think RPG elements are pretty good. I think this has the potential to be almost an evolution of the survival crafting genre. Gonna have to see how it goes. Again, just one of those games that really sucks away all your time. I'll be doing a bit of exploring, or I might be going on a supply run with my buggy for minerals, and next thing I know it's 3 AM. I'm not very far into the story, there's going to be tons more to talk about. Can't wait to see what's further ahead, and it's going to take me a while to 100% this one, but stay tuned for the full review. Alright, have a good one.